The A-Team continues on Sports Talk 790.
It is the A-Team, Sports Talk 790, Space City Home Network. Adam Wexler over there, Adam Clanton right here, and Jake Arthur. He follows or covers the Colts on SI, also covers them on Locked On Colts as our tour of the AFC South continues leading up to this opening weekend in the NFL. Jake, appreciate you taking the time out, and I'll just ask you what I kind of stated the other day. Is the originally slated starting quarterback for the Colts before all this mess happened, is he a bust? Is he done? Is that where you guys are at in Indianapolis right now?
I think Anthony's time in Indy is certainly difficult to salvage at this point outside of Daniel Jones getting injured. So I would be hesitant to say that we've seen the last of him just because, you know, as injured as Anthony has been, Daniel Jones has not had the cleanest bill of health in his career either. But like saying that, let's say 2026, he'll be in the mix to be the starter, that I have very serious doubt about. Now, they're saying all the right things. They won't give up on him. They still believe in his development and everything. But, I mean, can any of us think of a quarterback's career who was really successful that got started out this way without at least changing scenery? I would say not.
Well, he doesn't throw the ball to where it's supposed to go. That's pretty much the name of the game for quarterbacks, no matter how athletic you are. And he can't throw passes where they're supposed to go. And it's been a 2-year-long problem, if not also a Florida problem for as little he was on the field. So I think they're making the right decision. I thought signing Daniel Jones, considering what their options were, was smart. I don't even believe there was a quarterback competition, much of one, and as much as Shane Steichen tried to point towards one. So they have a poor quarterback yet again, which has been the story ever since Andrew Luck said, this is it for me, I'm out. Can they win games with the rest of their roster in spite of what is likely subpar quarterback play?
I think so. I mean, they've gone 17-17 the last 2 years with Gardner Minshew, Joe Flacco, and Anthony Richardson as their quarterbacks. So as you guys well know, 2023, that was a play-in game there in Week 18. Winner wins the division, and if not for that botched fourth down play against the Texans there at the end, the Colts somehow may have won the division. So I think that's what the Colts kind of see here is, with Gardner Minshew, as unspectacular as he was at least someone that could execute what Shane Steichen was asking of him. And I think they think they're getting a slight upgrade in Daniel Jones over Minshew in 2023. And, outside of that, this is a pretty decent roster that just needs reasonable quarterback play in order to be back in playoff contention. I've seen some, national pundits have kind of got them even as low as like 4-13 or 5-12. I think that's a little wild. I think their real range is anywhere from like 7-10 to 10-7.
Interesting. One of their players in particular, I think, is kind of like an acquisition. I've had 3 fantasy drafts, and not one time has Adonai Mitchell been taken by anybody, auction or otherwise. It's basically, to me, like they acquired him in the offseason because playing with Anthony Richardson was useless for him. He kept getting open, and he kept getting nothing to show for it because the ball was nowhere near him. Do they have, with now Warren, their draft pick, Mitchell and Pittman, obviously a healthy Jonathan Taylor, is that kind of where you're coming from saying, I think there's a talented group here?
It is a pretty talented group. Now, with A.D. Mitchell, his problems did go with Joe Flacco as well. As much as he got open, he had a pretty poor rookie season. There was just, he doesn't play with a lot of urgency, and when the ball did get to him, he kind of showed an aversion to contact, hearing footsteps and kind of gator arms, so to speak. Now, with that said, he did have a great summer, an awesome summer. But the thing is, he's like the fourth receiver, and he might be the fifth or sixth option in the passing game when you add in Tyler Warren and the running backs as well. So you got Pittman, Pierce, Josh Downs. A.D. Mitchell should eventually figure it out. Like the Colts believe that he's really the most talented receiver on the roster, and you saw it start to flash more often during training camp. But I don't know. It's hard because I think a successful season for him might even just be like 30 or so catches. Because, there's just a lot of mouths to feed in this offense, especially in the passing game. For him, it's about efficiency and making the most of his opportunities. But as far as, the Daniel Jones of it goes, with kind of a decent group of playmakers around him, I would say, that outside of that 2022 season with the Giants, where he earned that big contract, I mean, this is probably the best group he's had around him. The offensive line should be decent. He got a tight end and Tyler Warren. He's got these receivers. So if he can't really put it all together here, it's going to be pretty tough to justify him after this if he doesn't pull the strings.
Talking Indianapolis Colts with Jake Arthur here on Sports Talk 790. Jake, what's your assessment of Chris Ballard? It's been an up and down tenure. It's been, I think, in my opinion, it's been a lot longer than I thought it was going to last, just based on just the tenure he's had there, the amount of time he's been in place, and everything that's happened, good and bad, since he's been there. Is he on the hot seat? Do the Ursays like him? What's the deal with him right now?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he's absolutely on the hot seat. I think most of us were surprised that he survived last year. Him and Steichen getting kind of one last go of it. But I think the Ursay sisters are having this season be just a true evaluation period. And I don't know if there's a mandate in place like playoffs or bust. But I think the vast majority of us around here certainly feel like it's playoffs or bust, because most likely, regardless of how Jones does, you're probably in the quarterback market next year. It's just tough. It's been 4 years without the playoffs. He's only made it twice this is now year 9, and that was with Phillip Rivers and Andrew Luck at quarterback. So it's just more and more difficult each year that goes on without any postseason berth or postseason optimism to keep him around. And, if you're going to be searching for a quarterback again next offseason, well, I don't think he's really earned the trust to be championing that approach, because they have not gotten the quarterback position correct since Andrew Luck retired, and it's always kind of been able to be somebody else's fault. You could tie the quarterback to Frank Reich or Shane Steichen or this or that, and it's like, at a certain point, you just got to move on and kind of figure something out. Now, there's I think a very narrow avenue for Ballard to retain his spot here. And, you got to get to the postseason. You got to have some building blocks in place for next year to be able to really sell ownership on, this is our identity. This is where we're going. We need, this and this, and then we'll take that big next step. But outside of that, it's just so hard to justify giving it a 10th year.
You said it's playoffs or bust. You're talking about Ballard's tenure. You're talking about a possibility of a 10-win season, needs to go to the playoffs. Isn't winning 8, 9, or 10 games the worst thing that could happen for the Indianapolis Colts? Because Daniel Jones, you said it yourself, he's not going to be the quarterback next year. So what do you want a 9 or 10-win team being quarterbacked by the guy on the way out when it lands you somewhere in the middle of the first round of the draft, when you still need the same thing you've needed since Andrew Luck said good riddance?
Yeah, that's certainly been a hot topic around here. Is you're just kind of been stuck in treading water area for quite some time now. You're picking anywhere from 14 to 20. You're not high enough in the order to really go get what you want. I mean, when you got Anthony Richardson, so there's certainly some validity to that. You'd hate to just be in the middle. I don't think I've quite ever heard as many fans clamoring for a higher draft pick and a worse result of the regular season than they are now. You certainly don't want to root for losses or anything, but I think the better thing they could do is just maybe flip some assets for higher draft capital and move up in the draft next year in what should be a pretty good quarterback class.
All right, last thing for you, if you can think back for me, because it's such a huge topic here in Houston for what it resulted in with the Texans. Texans go and score late and get the 2-point conversion and win the game, and with it, lose the number 1 pick, draft second, and take C.J. Stroud. The resulting win for the Colts obviously impacted their draft strategy, and it's kind of where they are now. Are they also ticked off that the Texans were able to win that game?
Well, in hindsight, the Anthony thing, I really don't think drafting Anthony was a mistake. I'll be honest. I think whatever their plan was in the development of him, that's what was botched. I don't think Anthony would have just flopped in any scenario. And I don't want it to be lost on the fact that he actually did have a pretty good summer, and most of us around here thought that he won the quarterback competition. So he showed some progress, but yeah, the way that he was kind of brought into the league, they've even admitted themselves in hindsight was not what they would have done if they got a do-over at this point. I think C.J. Stroud was someone they definitely would have wanted as well. Stroud may have even been their top quarterback. But they were very much on board with getting Richardson. He wasn't considered a consolation prize. So I don't think they would do that over, but I do think they would love a redo on his development or lack thereof.
Interesting perspective where Richardson stands, where the Colts stand, and our trip through the AFC South will continue. Jake, really appreciate your time. Enjoy your coverage, and we'll hope to catch up with you later this season.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Good luck this year.
You got it. Jake Arthur. We'll be just fine here on the radio. Jake Arthur of Colts on SI. Locked on Colts as well. A number of different places you can catch his work.